a institution has a core mission. What is that core mission? Does it execute it? Does it execute against it in the cheapest, most efficient, and safest way? There may be many ways to do that, but one way that I think people can increasingly see that works is by Palantir. And so, especially in the US.
How big can it get? How big can you get?
I mean, I think we can help transform the way in which companies are run in the U.S. And I think the U.S. GDP is going to be very, you're going to see significant growth. The fundamental limit to Palantir's growth at this point is, can anyone besides America adopt at the rate America's adopting? The fundamental limit for Palantir is, can we keep up with the adoption that you're seeing?
Over the past week, Palantir Technologies Inc., or PLTR, has experienced a significant decline in its stock price, primarily due to concerns over potential U.S. defense budget cuts and internal corporate decisions. As of February 2025, Palantir's stock closed at $90.68, marking a decrease of over 20% from its peak of $119.16 from last week. The downturn began after reports that the Trump administration directed the Pentagon to reduce the U.S. defense budget by 8% annually over the next 5 years. Given that the Department of Defense accounts for a substantial portion of Palantir's revenue, this announcement raised concerns about the company's future financial health. Further exacerbating investor unease, CEO Alex Karp disclosed a plan to sell up to 10 million shares of his Palantir holdings, valued at approximately $1.2 billion. This move led to additional sell-offs, as stakeholders interpreted it as a potential lack of confidence in the company's future prospects. Additionally, news of Microsoft scaling back on data center leases has impacted the broader AI stock market, contributing to Palantir's stock decline. Despite these challenges, some analysts believe that the recent sell-off could present a buying opportunity. They suggest that Palantir might benefit from a more streamlined operation in a tighter spending environment. In summary, Palantir's stock has faced a turbulent week due to external policy decisions and internal corporate actions. Investors are closely monitoring the situation to assess the company's ability to navigate these challenges and sustain its growth trajectory. Year-to-date, Palantir stock is still up 34%, and over the last year it's up over 300%. So, when you zoom out, what crash are we talking about here? Yes, it's down from its highs, but overall the stock is still performing well. And if you bought it at the $120 mark, okay, you might be down a bit. But for the rest of us, it's still been a solid performer. Now I know Palantir is expensive, it's been expensive before, and yes, it's still expensive today. But just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's all bad news. The key is understanding the bigger picture. So let's take a look at some of the news that's driving this panic. Here's where things get interesting. One of the big reasons people are freaking out is because of news about defense budget cuts. The Pentagon's budget is approaching $1 trillion a year, and now they're looking at ways to trim it by 8% over the next 5 years. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of money, but when you break it down, 8% of $1 trillion isn't that much. So how does this affect Palantir? Well, Palantir still makes up over 50% of its revenue from government contracts, that's true. But here's the thing, software spending in the defense sector is still very small, less than 1%. And guess what? The Pentagon is investing more in AI and software. So instead of cutting Palantir out, these defense budget cuts could actually end up benefiting the company as software-based solutions get more attention. In fact, Palantir's business could be in line for more growth, not less. Next up, let's talk about the big headline you've probably seen everywhere. Alex Karp selling $1.2 billion worth of shares. Is this a sign that something's wrong with the company? Is it a red flag? Not necessarily. Just because executives sell stock doesn't mean the company is failing. In fact, we've seen this with NVIDIA, where CEO Jensen Huang sold hundreds of millions of dollars of stock, and the stock kept rising. At Palantir, yes, executives are selling more stock than buying. But here's the thing, Palantir's stock is up over 300% in the past year, despite this. They're cashing in on their gains. That doesn't mean the company is in trouble. Sometimes executives just sell because they've been sitting on massive stock options for years. Yes, Karp's $1.2 billion stock sale could put some short-term pressure on the stock, but that doesn't mean the business is falling apart. Remember, insider sales don't always correlate with company performance, so let's keep this in perspective. Now, we can't ignore the fact that Palantir's stock is expensive. With a high PE ratio and high price-to-sales ratio, it's a bit overpriced compared to the rest of the market. That's not a secret. And with some hype correction happening right now, it's not surprising to see a pullback. But if you're a long-term investor, this is just noise. Take a look at the big picture. Palantir's government revenue is accelerating and commercial revenue is seeing some growth too. The company is on a solid path forward, and while the market is reacting to short-term fears, the business fundamentals are still strong. So, what's the takeaway here? If you're seeing headlines about Palantir's stock drop, don't panic. This isn't the end of the world. The company is still performing well, and these short-term price fluctuations are just part of the market cycle. Remember, it's all about the long-term picture. If you've been holding Palantir for a while, you're probably still in the green. If you're new here, don't worry about the recent drop too much. It's not as big of a deal as it seems. Stick with the fundamentals, and remember to zoom out. The stock market is volatile, but with the right perspective, you'll be just fine. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit all the buttons like subscribe and share. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.